So today I'll be talking about the Future Fremantle Project, and more specifically we'll be looking at the light rail aspects of this project. Now, the Future of Fremantle Project, it involves the redevelopment of the inner Fremantle Harbour, which is occurring due to the Fremantle container port being moved to Kwinana, which is leaving all this free space to be redeveloped. So this project offers three different scenarios for how the redevelopment of the inner Fremantle Harbour can occur, with Scenario 1 being a harbour city, Scenario 2 being a coastal city, and Scenario 3 being a competitive city, with each scenario as you go along the scenarios increasing in significance in terms of the amount of redevelopment that occur. So Harbour City would have the least amount of redevelopment, and the competitive city would have the most amount of development. Okay, so first up we have Scenario 1, which is the Harbour City. Now, as I said before, this scenario is the smallest in terms of scale, and planned in this scenario will be buildings which will be between 5 and 10 stories, which will support between 25,000 and 35,000 people. And also, in this redevelopment, there'll be between 15,000 and 25,000 jobs. Now, the main transport options available besides your car will be bus rapid transit and ferries, along with the Fremantle line, which will remain unchanged if this scenario occurs. Also, importantly, there'll be no light rail. This is mostly due to the smaller population, which cannot support the light rail option. This map, you'll see the grey line that runs down the middle of the map represents the Fremantle train line, with the dots representing the train stations. So the higher of the two dots represents North Fremantle train station, and the lower of the two dots represents Fremantle train station. Now, the orange non-dashed line represents a high-frequency bus service connecting Fremantle train station with the redevelopment, while the dashed lines that are orange represent a less frequent bus service connecting North Fremantle train station to the redevelopment area and also to the Canning Highway. Now you'll notice that the blue lines represent a ferry service that runs between the two sides of the harbour. Now there's also these blue rectangles with lines running in between them. Now this represents a ferry service which moves people from either side of the river, which is pretty cool. Now obviously this scenario doesn't have light rail because, as I mentioned before, smaller population don't really need light rail. But if this scenario does occur, this is basically what you'll get in terms of public transport. Now next up we have the coastal city, which is a bit of a step up from the harbour city which I'd just shown you. Now in this scenario, the buildings will be between 3 and 20 stories, which will house between 35,000 to 45,000 residents, which is a lot. There will also be between 30,000 to 40,000 jobs, and there will be light rail included in this scenario, as well as the relocation of North Fremantle train station a little bit further south. So here's a map for the different transit options that will be included with Scenario 2, the coastal city. So first you'll see the Fremantle line, which is the grey line, which is the same as last time. However, this time you'll notice North Fremantle train station is a little bit further south, which helps it to better serve the redevelopment area. You'll also notice that both in the dot for the Fremantle train station and the North Fremantle train station, there is a purple dot. Now this simply means that there is also a light rail stop there as well. So now the purple line, that represents a light rail route, which I'd mentioned before, and this runs from the redevelopment area up to North Fremantle train station, and then it shares the same rail corridor as the Fremantle line to Fremantle train station. And then at Fremantle train station, you'll notice that there's a dotted line that continues further south. Now this is a proposed extension to this light rail, which should be done sometime in the future, which will help it better serve the southern suburbs of Fremantle. Now this is pretty significant, because if this scenario occurs, that will mean that this will be the first time since 1952 that trams will have run in Fremantle, because in 1952 the original Fremantle tramway system was closed. And finally, you'll notice the ferry routes as before. This time there are two of them, which are simply just going back and forth between the two sides of the river. And the probably reason why there's less ferries included in this scenario than the previous scenario is because of the better transit options available. So the final scenario is scenario 3, which is a competitive city, which is the largest in terms of redevelopment. And in this scenario, there'll be buildings between 3 to 30 stories, which will house between 45,000 and 55,000 residents. There will also be approximately 40,000 to 50,000 jobs. There'll be additional light rail routes, and there'll be no ferries included in this scenario. However, there'll be an elevated section of the Fremantle line through North Fremantle train station, which is similar to what's currently happening with the parts of the Armadale train line. Then finally, we have the transit map that shows all the different transit options that will be included in this scenario. So first you'll notice the Fremantle train line is dashed for most of it. Then this represents the section of the line that will be elevated. Now I'll presume that North Fremantle train station is going to be an elevated train station, while Fremantle train station will be an at grade. You'll also notice that the light rail route is slightly a bit different in this scenario. So it starts in the redevelopment area, then it runs up to North Fremantle station before coming back down the way it just come, then entering onto a bridge before travelling in the same corridor as the railway line to Fremantle train station, before heading up across another bridge back into the redevelopment area. You'll also notice that at Fremantle station there is two dashed lines. Now these represent proposed further extensions, both of which point further south. However, I don't know, as I said before, if this will be included in the project or might occur sometime into the future. And finally, you'll notice that there is no ferry connections. This is probably due to the greater connectivity of this scenario with either side of the river compared to the other scenarios. And that's basically it. So hopefully scenario 2 or 3 is chosen by the Future Fremantle Project to be implemented, because it'll be pretty cool to see light rail reintroduced into Fremantle. And if you do want to provide your feedback on what scenario you like more, you can head to the survey, which I've placed the link to in the description below, which will help the Future of Fremantle Project decide which scenario they want to choose and implement. However, do provide your answers quickly, because the survey closes on the 15th of January 2024. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss any more of our future videos. And thanks for watching.